new podcast, The Exiled Minds, the mind space for the people that keep getting kicked out for asking questions. I used to get encouraged to do that when I was at school. Anyway, welcome to the show. Liam Martin, The Exiled Minds Podcast. First show today. I've talked on the radio before. I've called in, so I'm not completely unschooled. Anyway, hey, this is going to be one of them kind of shows where I just like to ask questions, you know. I like to know what's what. I like to know what's going on with the world, for real. None of that messing about stuff. I want to know what it's all about, man. Where do we come from? What are we here for? Is there a here for? Is it all a mistake? All of it, the big life stuff, man. Consciousness, the human potential movement. That's what I'm all about. So that's what I like to do with my mind exercises. I like to see what's going on in the world, you know. Just want to know what's up. Do you know what I'm saying? Are aliens real? You know, is there such thing as angels? Do we have souls? You know, where do we come from? Where's the missing link in terms of anthropology? Oh, there isn't one. That's why we can't find it. You know, we're something else, we are. You know, human beings are something different. We're something else. So, we'll probably do a show on that. But anyway, today's show is going to be about Antarctica. I want to look at Antarctica because that's got some weird history. And when I think of Antarctica, the image that comes to mind is the big frozen wasteland. And I think in general, that's the image that comes to mind for everybody. Big frozen wasteland. So if that's true, then that's the image that somebody wants us to think, innit? Because, you know, I'm sure there's a lot more than just a frozen wasteland, but that's what we get. But there is a lot more than just a frozen wasteland. There's a heck of a lot more when it comes to Antarctica. Some weird, funky happenings that goes on down there. So I want to do a show about that, because I'm telling you, there's some weirdness with Antarctica. So what I've done is I've pulled together a bunch of articles to just go through normal mainstream stuff. Just normal mainstream discoveries that have gone on for Antarctica. Just a bit of history. We'll just go through it. Just the mainstream stuff. And say, it raises questions, you know. And then we'll ask somebody, we'll look at some of these questions and see what other, let's say, alternative explanations for the weird stuff that's happened. Well, yeah, we'll have a look. Down some rabbit holes today. Yeah, get your tinfoil suit on, because this is the one. This is the place for that stuff. So, to start with, strange life beneath the ice, Antarctica. What's going on with it, you know? Because Antarctica, it's a good sort of example. These extreme places are a good example of, what if life could be going on extreme moons and planets and stuff. So extreme conditions. So Antarctica is a good spot for study. So we'll go through a little bit of history. I mean, it was first recognised as it was an important thing for the world, Antarctica, in the 50s. Of course, because in the 50s we get the treaties come along, and in the 50s era the importance of Antarctica was recognised first because of, you know, the International Geological Year of 1957 to 1958. You know, it was decided it's going to be a good study spot, with much of current understanding of climatology and changes and ocean circulation, weather patterns, space weather, you know, glaciers, glaciology, geological history, that sort of thing. Biodiversity and the resilience of life on Earth, you know, that can be sort of extrapolated out into other stuff, other scientific observations that you can see elsewhere, you know. So it's a good sort of lab. It's sometimes called Antarctica. It's a good place to do that stuff. So some notable things going through the history, starting from about 2013, okay, because I'm thinking along this timeline, because Antarctica started coming on my radar just after 2012. We had all that hype with the Mayan calendar stuff, and then some stuff that would start popping up from Antarctica over the years. So we'll get some clickbaity headlines and stuff for Antarctica's history over the last few years. So, I mean, yeah, you get some clickbaity stuff like, oh, giant hole appears in Antarctica, and sometimes you'll see a Photoshop image of a proposed massive hollow Earth entrance at the North Pole and stuff, and it's, no, we're not talking that. We're not talking that. But there is geological changes that seem to be taking place in Antarctica. So you've got these clickbaity stories like, oh, giant hole appears. Scientists using satellite technology to monitor the continent spotted a huge hole the size of Maine back in 2017. Largest hole found, though. Before that, they've had an even bigger one the size of New Zealand in 74 to 76 had this hole appear. But the known things, the known processes, called I don't know how to say this word properly, Polynya, Polynya, Polynya. And it's just the way that Antarctica's weather systems work, and it can kind of dig holes and start to pool and stuff. But it means that it can change shape, you know. Some of the levels of the ice, it can change, so it can reveal things that's underneath. Because you've got to remember Antarctica. Antarctica's a solid landmass underneath. It's not like the North Pole. It's frozen all on top. So that's something to bear in mind. It's an actual continent with ice on it. All right. It's not just a really big patch of ice. It's no. It's a continent. Okay. So this is really, really important. And we'll get to why that's really important later. Okay, so, I mean, yeah, you get these, like, clickbaity stories like, oh, a giant hole appears, you know, seals have superpowers. That was another one, 2014, although this is pretty cool, actually, and it leads to other thinkings, you know. Magnetism, seals with magnetism superpowers. In 2014, the National Science Federation announced that scientists discovered Wendell seals, called Wendell seals, because that was where the first base... the Wendell ice sheet was where they set up first base. But yeah, Wendell seals have biological adaptations that allow them to dive deep, as far as a few hundred meters to go, you know, off on hunting. But the thing is, they're going into the ice and through little holes, and they need to come back up to breathe. They need the breathing holes, and they're saying that they've got such an uncanny ability to find these breathing holes when they need to resurface. They just seem to be able to spot them and get straight to them in these little holes in the ice. So they're saying that they think they're probably using the Earth's magnetic field like a natural GPS, which, you know, gets my mind to thinking about how birds magnetite in the brain, and they, you know, follow magnetic fields to navigate themselves. So I think, that's interesting. Magnetism. You know, that leads on to other stuff, because, you know, we're magnetic as well, you know. Can we sense stuff? You know, magnetic anomalies. It's just, gets you wondering. But yeah, it's just one of those, that's one of the things discovered about Antarctica in 2014, the seals down there, okay? Also, Antarctica, it was 2000, well, it was between 2004 and 2016, but yeah, around this sort of time they're getting this data about the temperatures. How cold can it get? Okay, so Antarctica's temperatures, man, ooh, nippy. But yeah, a study of the geological research letters revealed that satellite data collected during Antarctica's polar night from 2004 to 2016 can get as low as minus 98 Celsius, on minus 144 Fahrenheit. That is cold. That's some cold stuff. You need a gillet and some gloves and a scarf. Man, you need some serious shit, right? That's cold. Minus 144. That's, I mean, it's the coldest ever recorded on Earth ever. Don't get me wrong. You know, it's extreme. But yeah, minus 144. But then I think, right, this is what I think. I'm going to tell you what I think, because it's my show, so I can know what I want. What I think is that minus 144, at that point, things are properly well past freezing. So if you could find life in those kind of cold temperatures, then I'm sure you could find life at minus 145. Or minus 150, you know what I mean? Once you've gone past a certain point, It probably don't matter how cold it is. If you can get life at minus 144, you can probably get life at minus 200 or 250. You know, and the way I'm leading you here. I'm leading you to the temperature on Europa as an ice moon. Okay, around Jupiter, that's often thought to possibly have a liquid ocean underneath the ice. That's minus 260. So it gets you wondering, doesn't it? Yeah, you probably, yeah. Because they've been speculating that on Europa. Yeah, you probably got life there, haven't you? Those kind of cold temperatures, can you get life? But anyway, going carry on through the history. So we're up to 2016 now. So signs of fire in Antarctica. It's all mainstream stuff, right? This is it's from the National Science Foundation, government institute in the US. Okay, so remote lakes I thought this was really interesting. The start of this article, I'll put it all in the description, all the links. But yeah, the signs of fire, June 2016. Remote lakes in a perpetually ice-free area of Antarctica. That caught my attention. Hang on a minute. A perpetually ice-free area of Antarctica. Yeah. Perpetually ice-free. It's ice-free all the time. There's never any ice there. And I think, Going back to the beginning of me saying, when I think of Antarctica, I think of this frozen wasteland, and I think that's fair enough. That's what most people think of it, right? But this is saying perpetually ice-free areas. You know what I'm saying? And that really gets me, because then this got me thinking, because I'll tell you why in a minute. I was reading this, so it says remote lakes, perpetually ice-free areas in Antarctica show that not only there's a chemical signature of ancient wildfires, so I don't know if that's man-made or just natural wildfires, but also is much more recent evidence of fossil fuel combustion. Well, that sounds more like man-made fires, doesn't it? Fossil fuel combustion. You've already said ancient wildfires. Why mention fossil fuel combustion as well? Wouldn't ancient wildfires could be categorised as fossil fuel combustion? So that makes it sound more like people fires. And of course, it's continent, you know. It has been in different spots. It's been on the equator, Antarctica, at some point. So people have lived there. Yeah. You know, so... But I just thought that part was interesting from the National Science Foundation. Yeah, just that one particular line. You know, the perpetually ice-free areas. Okay, so... That's like some bog standard stuff. But then, say, looking at this, just the mainstream stuff, I hit that and I thought that really gets me, the ice-free bit. Because, like I say, frozen wasteland. Normally we're thinking, yep, frozen wasteland, nothing there, but ice-free. And the thing is, Admiral Byrd said there was a really massive ice-free area in Antarctica. Okay, Admiral Byrd. We'll get to Admiral Byrd. He was the youngest Navy admiral in US history. Yeah, a really accomplished guy, an intrepid explorer. So we'll get to Admiral Byrd in a bit later on. So we'll go through some more of this mainstream stuff. So far I've got some basic details of Antarctica. I've got some seals, you know, some magnetic properties that might be going on with that. You know, they've got these, they can get super cold there. Gets you wondering about these extremophile life forms that can, you know, survive in these extreme conditions. We've had the landscape can change, you know, due to like these Polynya's and things like that, you know, and things melt. It melts. Some areas melt, you know, some areas are refreezing, you know, so the landscape and the surface can change. Okay, but then going back along the timeline, say from about 2013, yeah, you're getting these sort of little fluff pieces about, you know, landscapes like this. You get green glaciers because of this, you know, these particular chemicals, whatever. super seals that, you know, have got superpowers with magnetism. You think, oh yeah, great, that's cool. But this weirdness, though, this weirdness, this tales from the crypt kind of things going on. You know, so I want to talk about those things. Because always have your compass set to weird. That's what Terence McKenna used to say. And you know what? It works for me because that's where the action's at. Think about this. If you measure a battery, a AA battery, and it's supposed to be like 1.5 volts, and you measure it 100 times, you're going to get readings like, if it's meant to be 1.5 volts or something, then you're going to get 1.2 volts and 1.8 volts. 1.6, 1.4, 1.7, 1.8, 1.3. You're going to keep, you know what I mean? You're going to get these fluctuating electron readings around about 1.5 volts. But if you get a reading that says 28,000 volts on measurement number 73, then usually you do a best line fit on a graph, don't you? And that 28,000 volts is way off the line, so you just dismiss it. You ignore it. That's the scientific method. But that's where the action's at. Look at that. Look at that. 28,000 volts. Something weird's up in there. You want to know about that, don't you? That's exciting reading. All the rest of them boring. Right. So you got to look at these weird things. And yeah, you don't want to be deluding yourself with nonsense stories, nonsense thinking. But at the same time, you don't want to, as the proverb goes, throw the baby out with the bathwater. You don't just want to throw the whole of something out in case there's some truth in there, do you? Yeah, it's a mistake, and that's how things get hidden from you, you know. So this is what we're going to do today. So 2013, let's look at some of the weird stuff, man, because I'm telling you some funky stuff about Antarctica, so let's go through it. So 2013, along with the fluff stuff, you got things like, you know, like, oh, mysterious bug found. Yeah, there's another sensationalized story, but new scientists, mysterious bug found in Antarctica, Lake Vostok, right? So it's like, well, we talked about this. We've heard rumours about this kind of stuff before, you know. Sort of, you know, I think it's been explored in sci-fi. That what if they found some freaky virus? You know what I'm saying? It's been trapped down there for ages and it wiped out the dinosaurs or some you know, some big story like that. But you know, you got to think about these things, haven't you? Because like Tutankhamun's tomb, there's a lot of thinking that people did die after going into Tutankhamun's tomb. It's probably because of mold spores that's been in there for ages, really poisonous and whatnot. You know, maybe even put there intentionally. So yeah, you've got to be a bit cautious, of course. And people have been miners have been found frozen. I think up in Alaska, where they still had like ancient diseases that've been eradicated and that got smallpox or whatever. Think, oh yeah, get an old sample of smallpox. These biolabs are rubbing their hands, you know. But no, we've got rid of things for a reason. But yeah, it's just, you know, one of them. You've got to be a bit careful, haven't you? Things frozen in ice. But yeah, I mean, New Scientist had this one story back in March 2013. You got all this stuff going down in Antarctica because the Russians were drilling, you know, world's deepest hole, man. They were drilling right down to get really, really deep. You know, and they were making good progress around 2012, 2013. And I think this is why a lot of the stuff's starting to come out, you know, about Antarctica, because, you know, there's stuff going on, making breakthroughs and whatnot, you know. So, New Scientist, 2013, March, they had this headline, Mysterious Bug Found in Antarctica's Lake Vostok. Okay, so the article said, it was posted on March the 8th. It says, there is something alive in Lake Vostok, deep beneath the East Antarctic ice sheet, and we don't know, and we know where it is. It's water samples from a lake contain bacterium that does not seem to belong to any known bacterial group. Alright. Although whether or not this is truly a new life form remains to be proven. Okay. But then 4 days later, so new scientists have been contacted by Russia and said, hey, that's not the case. So they've made them do an update and a bit of a retraction on this. And have said, several news agencies have reported there's no unusual life in the samples from Lake Vostok, based on an interview by the Vladimir Korolev, head of the Pittsburgh Nuclear Physics Institute, gave an interview with Interfax news agency, and he said that this was all due to a misunderstanding, and he said Korolev had not been informed of the latest results and was discussing the previous analysis. We had the old results that had circulated in October, so they were saying no, those original results had contaminants that were identified, so no, there's no new life, so no, please retract this. Okay. But if they didn't want, you can always tell people, no, don't say this yet, or whatever, put them in error, But I get it, scientists want to be cautious, don't want to wreck their career, because science is the only field of study where if you can prove that you've been talking crap for 20 years, they'll give you an award. But if somebody else proves that you're done, it's over. So you've got to be cautious. So I get it. So okay, maybe there isn't no freaky bug down there. So all right then, okay. But then, yeah. There was other stories about it. Forbes wrote about it as well, like I say. And kind of turns out that, they did find stuff. They did find stuff. I mean, I put the articles in the links in the description, but still, turns out years later they'd start to find some weird stuff, But anyway, we'll carry on through the timeline. So yeah. So we've got the weird the initials of getting excited because they've been drilling. They're making some progress with the drilling. They're giving us these fluff pieces about icebergs and changing landscapes and seals. And then no, we might have found some life, but some new types of life. But no, we haven't. And then 2015, right at the beginning of the year, scientists drilled into one of the most isolated places in the whole of the oceans. They found a hidden shore down in Antarctica. Okay, so they found like a kind of, they drilled down and broke through into a gigantic, they call it an ocean, a big massive lake, and it sits under 740 meters of ice, hundreds of kilometers in from the sea. It's huge. Obviously, humans have never been there. Reaching it required 7 years of planning and 450 tons of fuel and gear. So, yeah, they was really going for it. But Russia had been on it for ages. Russia had been trying to dig down there and, they've been practicing that shit for a long time, And, again, more sort of like standard stuff that, like, yeah, we're finding that, the ice is melting off the underside. Because there's like, how can you have a liquid? It's a bit puzzled. How comes it's not all frozen? Do you know what I'm saying? I think it's just going to be ice all the way down, and then they break into a cavern that's got a massive lake in there, and it's one of them. In fact, they say it's even got its own tides potentially, and it's got a little island, so it's big enough, So it's like trying to figure it out. Well, how come it's not frozen? So they're making these discoveries. All right. It's regular science stuff. So they're like, oh yeah, it seems to be ice melting off the underside of the glacier very slowly. At a rate, several dime thicknesses per year. And it's probably getting heat seeping up through the Earth's deep interior. I think, okay. So they're making it's opening science up a bit. Probably won't find life there. We possibly might. The conditions might be good. They are. So they're stepping it up a little bit at a time, it seems to me. That's how science likes to do it. It not admit stuff, and then it'll kind of consider it, and then it'll accept it, and then it'll say, we always knew that. That's how they go. You know, I remember when they used to say, there's absolutely no way planets can form around other stars. It's completely unique here. It could never happen. It would never happen. And then when they start finding exoplanets, they'd be like, oh, yeah. We always knew they'd be there. We just needed to find one to prove it. You'd be like, no, you never said that. You never said that in the early 90s and beyond. You liars. Anyway, yeah, memory. It's good to remember things. So anyway, yeah, so they're figuring out Antarctica. They're giving it these science stuff, right? Okay. And it's like, well, that's all good. That's nice. We're finding out a bit about the landscape. Oh, yeah, it's melting. Oh, it blew our minds, said Christina Hulber, the glaciologist from the University of Otago, New Zealand, co-led the expedition. The Ross Ice Shelf is considered more stable at present than many of West Antarctica's floating shelves. And this observation could help to explain why, yeah? Because if it keeps periodically refreezing underneath, this could buffer it from thinning more rapidly. It'd be stable. Okay, great. That's nice. That's all well and good. But what about that dry? What about these perpetual ice-free areas? You know, because in the article there, it was saying that they haven't really tested those areas much. They don't really know about the biological processes that might be going on in the soil because they haven't been doing enough. They haven't gone there. They haven't done it. And I'm thinking, hang on, wait. So you've got this frozen wasteland, right? And you're feeling like it's going to be really important for the world and you want to study it. Yeah. And it's really difficult because extreme cold conditions, all that ice to deal with, right? But then you find a bit with no ice, make it loads easier. There's soil there, you know, there's stuff. But then you haven't really studied that bit. Do you know what I'm saying? It seems so much easier to just be all about that instead of all the ice stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? It'd be easier. I don't know. You just think they'd have more data about that, about the soil and the ice-free area and what's that all about. You know, and just don't really get anything from these articles and these, these reports from the long-term studies that's been going on. I get this stuff's hard and whatever, but I don't know. I just feel like they drip feed you like the not so amazing discoveries a little bit. And I feel like there's more going on, you know. So it's like this. Like you got the Daily Express, okay. But like it's reporting in October 2019, and yet discovery happens 2015. Like Antarctica, how surprising discovery stunned scientists drilling 2,400 feet below the ice. Okay, Antarctica is the Earth's southernmost continent, where the geographic South Pole is located. The frozen desert is home to some 1,000 scientists. Got the Daily Express building us up, right? Okay. Among them are researchers from the National Science Foundation. Yeah, I mentioned them earlier. Yeah. Who made the astonishing find after drilling into the Ross Ice Sheet, West Antarctica 4 years ago. Why didn't you report it then if it was such an astonishing find? Anyway. So it's ice melting underneath and then refreezing. Okay. That's cool. The ocean. That's pretty astonishing. Okay, you figured out how it can be there and undone your own insistence that it couldn't happen. It's all going to be frozen. But anyway, okay. So that means you can have life down there. Obviously, probably will. Yeah, going to be loads of it, probably. Yeah, so all that speculating. That's only 2015. If we go back, in 2013 and 14, they were saying, oh, no, we haven't really found anything. Oh, don't get excited. Oh, it's contaminants. And you know, before they were leading up to that, they were saying, oh, there might not be life there. They might, you know, and it's like, it's all that cat and mouse game, it seems to me. But, you know, the Ross Ice Sheet is the original location of for the early Antarctic exploration bases. which is also, I think they used to call it area Middle America as well, or they did. Used to call that Middle America. Right, referencing Admiral Byrd. Again, Admiral Byrd, Middle America. Okay, because he said, this is the thing. Admiral Byrd said there's perpetual ice-free areas in Antarctica as well. So this is the thing. It's why that line stood out for me. Because I never heard it anywhere else other than Admiral Byrd. But Admiral Byrd said, Middle America, which is where the Ross Ice Sheet is, it's basically, if you imagine where the South Pole exactly is supposed to be, it's just southwest of there. Right. So that's where the Ross Ice Sheet is, Middle America. Now, Admiral Byrd said, if you fly, it says if you go just the other side of the pole, to the east of Antarctica, I don't know if it means northeast from there or just east or whatever, it says you go to the other side of the pole, so I'm thinking northeast from Ross Ice Sheet. He says there's an area that's free from ice, that's as big as North America. Okay? That's what Admiral Byrd. Admiral. Navy Admiral. Youngest ever one. Intrepid explorer. That guy's flew across the North Pole, he's flew across the South Pole. That guy was the dude. He was the man. Richard E. Byrd. So, you know, if you look him up, you'll hear stories about they're supposed to find a notebook after, and there's some stuff about him supposed to have flew into Hollow Earth, and that's, after he's died, and whatever. Someone could have made that up, whatever. Don't let yourself get distracted on the fact that this guy's like a military hero. You know what I'm saying? So this guy's saying there's an area free from ice as big as North America, and he said it on national television. And in fact, there's I'll put YouTube link in the description. But it was the title of the show was called "LONGINES CHRONOSCOPE" with Richard E. Byrd, and it's in the National Archive record. The National Archive record reference number is ARC 95934. So I mean, go and check that out. I put all the details in for people to check out anyway. But yeah, Admiral Byrd said on national telly that Antarctica is really important. There's loads of resources. The whole world needs to go there and use it. It's going to change the world. The stuff that we've discovered in there, and it's an area free from ice as big as North America. Admiral Byrd. So what's that all about? What's this free from ice area? Why aren't you studying that stuff? Why don't we hear about it? They're my questions. And now we know that, oh yeah, you can get life in these scenarios you didn't think about, but there's a bit free from ice. I mean, come on. I already know there's magnetic anomalies down there. There's things melting. I would say we've seen with the giant holes that can appear, things can be revealed. So I'm going along the thinking that they've found some stuff there. Yeah, governments have found stuff there. And that'll be why there's a treaty and it's all like super secret and you can't go there without special permission, and tourists can only go to certain places, and it's massive, isn't it? You can't just go where you want. So there's stuff there in Antarctica. This is the point I've been sort of getting to. I think that it's starting to look like, even going through the mainstream stuff, that there's weirdness going on there. And we'll get on to why I think there's stuff there. Funky things going on there. Right, we'll have to come back to Admiral Byrd, okay? But going back through the timeline, you've got to remember that, so we're only at like 2015, okay? We've looked at a few sort of mainstreamy stuff, but then there's weirdness going on there. Like 2016, medical evacuations. Nana's mystery sicknesses, you know what I'm saying? That's when that era came in. If you're not aware of that, I mean, you can look this up. There's been a couple evacuations from Antarctica and mysterious illnesses, people having to be rushed away, and you know it's all that stuff because, of course, for years there was speculation we find something frozen in the ice that could make you sick, some old pathogen or whatever. What are you going to find? So you got to be careful, right? Yeah, and it takes you to the thing from another world, that old film, So, let's find something freaky. Let's find an old transformer frozen down there, or a Titan. But anyway, yeah, medical evacuation in 2016. There was one for unnamed member of a scientific team not the first such story, to be honest, like I said. So, you know, other sudden flights have happened, but it's when they're shrouded in secrecy, it makes you wonder about it, do you know what I mean? And then we've had some sort of important key figures in the world that have gone to Antarctica. Why would random go to Antarctica? Why is the Russian Orthodox Patriarch of Moscow, Kirill III, going there? Do you know what I'm saying? Why is the Christian Hierarch Orthodox Catholic Anglican going there? Just random, you know. I know there's a photo op thing with, yeah. You can get a picture. You can go and photobomb with some penguins and that. But do you know what I'm saying? What are they doing? What are they going? Did Senator John Kerry go? All right, he went, didn't he? Buzz Aldrin went. You know. I mean, it's like, why is Kirill going there? Why is the Orthodox Catholic Anglican Christian leader going there straight after meeting the Pope? He meets the Pope and then goes to Antarctica. And it's like, why? Why? You know, Senator John Kerry went there. Obviously, there was there was Buzz Aldrin. You know, Hermann Goering's gone there as well, famed Nazi. It's like these special visits to Antarctica. It's like, well, and when Buzz Aldrin went, that was a bit of a for one. Didn't he take ill as well? It was like, and then there was that tweet. Supposedly they said, oh, somebody's faked it or whatever, and they said, oh, and he's all evil there or whatever. You know, who knows? But it just seems weird. You're getting these famous visitors going, and so it's like, well, Patriarch Kirill III went 2016 straight after meeting the Pope, right? He went there in February, yeah. Senator John Kerry, he went there in November same year, 2016. Apollo astronaut Buzz Aldrin went there same year, December 2016. It's like they've all suddenly rushed to go and have Antarctica visits. It just seems weird to me. But then it's like, so what is this about then? So what is it? Because, I mean, there's been all this talk about, like, oh, there could have been a Nazi base there. Do you know what I'm saying? There's been all that kind of talk, you know. And like I say, we get these distraction stories, clickbaity stories, like, oh, look, 2016, same year, this is probably a clickbaited distraction thing, because these world leaders are going in, it looks odd. And, you know, but then they'd be like, oh, shocking claims, July 2016, mysterious skulls found in Antarctica could be from aliens, and it was discovered 2 years ago in 2014. But if you look at, I mean, it's an Express article, I'll put a link in, but if you look into it, and it's like, oh, it's a guy called Dr. Damien Waters, but it's like, you can't really find out who he is. He's supposed to be from the Smithsonian, it's not listed, there's nothing there, you can't really find anything, like, it seems to be no source to it. Do you know what I mean? There's no basis. So it's like someone's just thrown a story out there. I don't know. Is it a distraction move? You know? People start asking questions about why people go into Antarctica. Why does it matter? You know? And then it's like, same Buzz Aldrin's been, 2016. It's supposed to, scientists declare they found an anomaly lurking beneath the ice. Scientists believe they discovered a massive object that could change our understanding of history. You know? It's like, that was in a New York Post. So they're talking about this anomaly lurking beneath Antarctic ice. So they're going to the New York Post. I mean, it's the New York Post, but it's mainstream stuff, you know. And it says scientists believe that a massive object could change our understanding of the history is hidden beneath the ice. But what they're talking about is the frozen wasteland in an area called Wilkes Island. Area is 151 miles across, with a minimum depth of about 2,700 feet. Some researchers believe it may be the remains of a truly massive asteroid, twice the size of the space rock that wiped out the dinosaurs. It's like, I mean, that's, you know, That's weird, isn't it? Found some massive structure under there that could be a massive asteroid or massive something. It's like, there's all this stuff coming through, man. And again, the old unknown species may be thriving in the Arctic caves. So that's in the next year, 2017, other than the BBC. So it's like, that story's come back. You know, is the life down there? Oh, no, we thought we found something unknown, but no, it was a contaminant, and now it's back again. You know, you're like, well, and then the BBC are reporting it this time. They're saying, but this time it's Australian researchers, and it was Russia before. It says animals and plants may be living in warm caves under the Antarctic ice, according to a study. Australian researchers said that Mount Erebus, an active volcano in Antarctica's Ross Island, again, surrounded by caves and hollowed out by the ice and steam. So yeah, it's got heat stuff going on there, you know. It's got heat anomalies, stuff from the Earth's core, whatever, changing landscapes. Yeah, there's going to be life there. There's going to be stuff doing the do there. And again, makes you wonder, right, Europa, doesn't it? Because if that's got what kind of geothermal activity has Europa got going on? Do you know what I'm saying? And if it hasn't got any geothermal, I mean, I don't know. Anyway. But yeah, you know, makes you wonder, because it's like, well, they're there saying they got soil samples retrieved from the caves has revealed intriguing traces of DNA from mosses, algae, and small animals. So it's like, yeah, totally life there, plants there, got it. Yeah, there's stuff living there. It's not this frozen wasteland, is it? It's the point I'm getting back to. It's not this frozen wasteland. It's just not. It's just not. And everything seems to be getting played down. They play it down and play it down and play it down. Because there's something to it. Right? So it's cat and mouse game all the time. Ugh. Okay, so yeah, unknown species. Yeah, there's going to be new stuff. And yeah, just gets me onto that chicken or the egg thing. And I'm like, it's the chicken. The chicken comes first. You know, you get spontaneous life coming, don't you? There's always been that thing. It's, does life come from other life? Or is it spontaneous? Do you know what I'm saying? And science wanted to go with the all life comes from other life route from the start, because they didn't want to think spontaneous life appearing, because that sounds like God and religion stuff, so they wanted to steer clear of it. Do you know what I'm saying? But it does happen, spontaneous life. Life can't come from other life, because where does the first life come from then? Right? You get Russian nuclear reactors have a fungus that grows in there, in hermetically sealed nuclear reactors. Where's that coming from? That can't coming from other life, can it? It must have to somehow manifest in there somehow. And guess what? That particular form of life likes to eat ionizing radiation, which is really great, because that's what's inside a nuclear reactor. Yay! But anyway, yeah, it's going to be life all over the place. It's the fundamental, you know, because, yeah, all these extreme conditions, log. So, yeah, they're finding it. You know what I'm saying? And don't forget, I mean, if you didn't know, the entire planet was a snowball at one time, you know, and it was the geothermal activity that, you know, kind of sort of provided the energy for life to still be around in the oceans. Because everything else was like practically killed off and stuff, it led to an evolutionary jump, you know, because things didn't have predators, the things that started over. So it's like, you know, this stuff gets big and complicated and whatnot. And if these are isolated places, there could be things there having evolutionary jumps. Who knows, man? Who knows? But yeah, stuff going on in Antarctica. You do get life there. They're making these discoveries, proving themselves wrong. You know. And like I say, it's got these soil samples in the icy bits digging down. And like I say, these ice-free areas that got mentioned earlier, this didn't really study that much, then makes you wonder about that, innit? You know, because there's stuff going on. There's weirdness going on there with these visitors of world leaders and stuff going. You know what I'm saying? And they're feeding us these little fluff things. Oh, fossil forests found, in 2018, discovered 5 new fossilized forests. Great, but what about all this funky stuff? Come on, give us the goods. Give us the goods. I got more uncovering the cultivating. Cultivating majority of Antarctica soil samples tends towards synergistic approach. A small fraction of the total surface area of the continent consists of permanently ice-free regions. Again, Peck and all, 2005. There's the reference to that. But then that raises the question: how does that particular scientist, those particular researchers, know there's only tiny areas free from ice? Because they're only going to places where they're being taken to study, right? They don't get to pick a aeroplane and pilot and just fly where they want. They don't get to just fly around in a helicopter, do they? They get delivered to where they're doing their experiments and doing what they're doing. So they're getting the same information that we all get about how big it is, where ice is, where ice isn't. They're all getting that from the authorities, aren't they? And that's the point. And if we go back to the Piri Reis, in the oldest map of Antarctica, the Piri Reis map, Turkish Admiral, shows it with no ice on. Right, there's always a point that has to be made here. So how big is Antarctica? It might be bigger than what they tell us. Do you know what I'm saying? We're getting all this information from authorities. But historically, the Piri Reis map shows what it looked like when it had no ice on it. So people knew what it looked like then. People have known about this stuff. There must have been people living there in ancient times or going... Do you know what I'm saying? And to me, I've kind of looked at it roughly. Looked at all the maps through history. I mean, some of the maps of the Earth, the continents are different sizes. If you check through the history from the 70s till modern times, look at different images of the Earth. Continent sizes are changing, especially North America. And so it makes you wonder, just how big is the Earth? Just how big is, how much landmass is there? How big are the landmasses? We don't know for sure, do we? So But anyway, back to this. Today, these exposed Antarctic soils have received relatively little research attention, resulting in rather limited knowledge of the microbial communities. Why aren't you studying them? That was from 2000. That was reported in February 2019, but someone was referencing somebody's paper from 2005. So someone's been asking that question since 2005. Some academics writing in a paper, writing articles. Yeah, I'll put the link in there. That was from frontierin.org, articles 10.3389. Anyway, yeah, I'll put the links in. It's just, see, I come up with these questions. I'm sure they're obvious questions, but it's like, sometimes it's the things that's not said that's as much of a clue as things that's said. So, and like I say, and then they don't really answer that question, why aren't you studying that stuff? Just skip over that. But then go, oh, but don't worry about that, because we have a new clue as to why we get jade-coloured icebergs. Oh, they do look cool, but who cares? I'd rather hear about, not February 2020, Antarctica's breakthrough stunning magnetic anomalies. Yeah, discovered miles below the ice revealed. And you'll get that in there's a good show on that on Amazon, Forbidden Mysteries. There's a show, season 4, episode 1, really good. Check that out. I'll put a link for that as well if anyone wants to watch that. It's a really good episode about that. And there's magnetic anomalies in Antarctica as well. Okay, so we've got geothermal anomalies. Okay, we've got heat in spots in Antarctica underneath, right? So there's going to be caverns there, yeah, and we're seeing that there's caves and life and big lakes, giant caverns even, massive lakes even, with waves because they're that massive. You know what I'm saying? All kinds of stuff down there, alright, in terms of just regular, normal Earth stuff, life stuff. You know what I'm saying? But then these magnetic anomalies, and part of this magnetic anomaly in Nature magazine suggests that it's the very continent itself is magnetically connected to its ancient neighbour when it was once one continent of Gondwana, one big massive supercontinent. The southern Arctic was once part of it, and it's geomagnetically linked to it in some way. So this. But if you look into this stuff, it's probably showing its own magnetic anomalies. But you can research it yourself and go onto internet browser and go and look this stuff up. But there's all sorts of stuff with magnetic anomalies there, so it's weird, man. I mean, in this article in Nature magazine says that they've even got a specifically designated, dedicated group to studying just Antarctic digital magnetic anomalies. In fact, that's what it's called, the Antarctic Digital Magnetic Anomaly Project. I can't say that wrong. But yeah, it's got people specifically looking at just the magnetic anomaly side of things as well. So what's going on, man? Because you can do a lot of stuff with magnetism and whatnot. And anyway, so yeah, I mean, I don't know. Discovering life beneath the ice and discovering these magnetic and heat anomalies. But the thing that gets to me, this thing I'm trying to get to, is that there's these ice-free areas. There's stuff going on we're really not being told about. Yeah, and what we are getting is being eked through a little bit. And let me just tell you about this bit, and then that bit don't count anymore. No, there's this though, and it's all a bit, softly. I think that happens with a lot of science, to be honest. The way they sort of do it, and those sensationalized bits that aren't really all that interesting, and other stuff they'll play down that's fascinating. But I mean, in Tibet, they found under a glacier, they found a virus, a 15,000-year-old virus underneath a glacier in Tibet. Yeah, I've got a link for that as well. And it says most of it, he found more than one actually, and it says most of the viruses were previously unknown to humans, according to a study in Science Daily reports on that. So, it's just... And, it's like, they play down, or they're not going to find stuff in the beginnings, but then, they do find stuff. Another virus, 30,000-year-old viruses discovered in BBC article from back in 2014, March. An ancient virus has come back to life, in quote marks, after laying dormant for at least 30,000 years in the permafrost of Siberia. So they know that this stuff happens, and they said they're playing it down right from the start, and they've already found stuff like this. And they're finding it at the same time as playing it down in other parts of the world. So in Antarctica, it's the cat and mouse game, whilst at the same time in Siberia and Tibet, they're finding exactly what they're playing cat and mouse with in Antarctica. It's all a big game. It's all a big game. Because it's a two-tier world. The mainstream media stuff is a fairy tale world. And underneath that, there's the real world, and it's way further out there than the sci-fi stuff, for real. And that's just how it is. That's just reality. This stuff, you can find stuff in this, like I say, there's life there, and this, that, and the other. But I mean, it got really funky there. I mean, we've just gone through there for last, from 2020, 21. I mean, recent stuff, man. This is from July 2021. This is the viruses underneath the Tibetan glacier, and it's there's been other. But the thing is, it's been with the Russian scientists. There's been some other weird reports from just before that, back in 2012. It's why this is why people are cautious about talking about Antarctica since this, but there could be other reasons, but. Now, this may not be true, but, Russian scientists claimed, a Russian scientist claimed that they lost a team down there battling a creature. I mean, that sounds it sounds like a sci-fi movie. But in Geneva, a defecting Russian scientist, Anton Padalka, surfaced with a quote mind-bending account of what really occurred when his colleagues went missing for 5 days, because there was some people that went missing, and people have gone missing there, and there's so there's been these mysterious stories from Antarctica. Okay, so he said he had some colleagues went missing for Dr. Anton Padalka says for 5 days they've been battling there was this mysterious lake 12,366 feet beneath the Arctic ice, so 12,000 feet down. Okay. Vladimir Putin claimed that there was nothing of interest found, right? But this doctor says this is because this former KGB strongman hopes to weaponize this organism they've found. So and this is what he says. This is a quote from this Dr. Anton Badalka. He says, look, the discovery of such unusual life in Lake Vostok was the most important scientific breakthrough in decades, but we were ordered not to divulge it because of Mr. Putin's sinister scheme, wants to weaponize it. Well, that's just military thinking, isn't it? So he's a whistleblowing geologist, and he's defector, and he was in Geneva in Switzerland, defecting, where he's nice and safe, saying this. So if we're to believe experts, right, dude's a doctor. I bet he's got a white coat and everything. So he's an expert, and he's a defector, and he's saying, bad Russia, I'm defecting from Russia. So anyone that's a Democrat probably, right, should be on this guy's side. Oh, I shouldn't have got political there. But, people are like, oh, Russia this, Russia that, Russian collusion, and they should like this guy. Yeah. And this guy's saying, yeah, they found some creature down there. Right. And it's not just some pie-in-the-sky stuff, because it's saying, according to the research, like the quantities of oxygen, right, down there, it exceeds parts of the planet, right, because of the environment beneath, the ice and water and, whatever, the cold. The oxygen there can be 10 to 20 times higher. Okay, think about this. The oxygen down there, 10 to 20 times higher. Do you know what I'm saying? And getting oxygen in, that seems to be really good for you. It seems to boost you and like your pineal gland. That gets a lot of talk about, the pineal gland. It's a very, very small gland in the centre of your brain. But for its proportional size, it gets more oxygen than anything else in the body. And that's your so-called third eye, So it's like, well, oxygen counts for stuff. Counts for growth. You need it for growing muscles going to the gym. So oxygen helps with growth. And I don't know. It seems to be intrinsically linked biologically to me. So if you're getting 10, 20 times more oxygen, you're going to be kind of like, bit Superman-y, aren't you? If you get, But anyway, it says any life forms that we find are likely to be unique on Earth because they've got this unique 10, 20 times extra oxygen, whatever that's going to do. And you think, well, yeah, that was what Sergei Bulat, the project's chief scientist, said. Okay, and that was the same guy, one of the guys that was originally saying that they found some unusual, previously unknown life. But then told, no, it was a contaminant. But yeah. So, he knows these are unusual conditions. You're going to find some weird creatures. And it says, previous extreme weird creatures have been found in the deep sea vents off of the coast of Antarctica before, including the hairy-chested yeti crabs. They did look kind of fun, actually. Yeah. And they just, cultivate... they feed on a little bacteria. Any bodies and cadavers down there and, whatever. You get the seven-armed sea star. So they can catch and kill them crabs. And eat them, You get them snails and deep-sea vents that feed in the hydrothermic vents. They'll feed on them. In fact, I've seen where they found some snails, they've got a shell that's composition is very similar to metal, like crushing depths and that. So yeah, you get stuff down, you get these extremophile lives. And this Russian defector then, he said that we encountered an organism that they called it organism 46B. And it says it was during conducting a preliminary dive, wearing a low-temperature wetsuits. He recounts it disabled our radio, which we later learned to our alarm was intentional. Okay. And this thing, it was a creature. He said it had 14... It was basically an octopus. They basically come across an octopus. But this particular octopus, it had the 14 arms instead of 8. Okay? Which ain't that unusual. It ain't that far out there. It's got more. You know what I mean? It's nearly doubled up on the amount of arms it's got. Okay. Maybe the oxygen difference helped it grow more. Whatever. Maybe there's an environmental reason why it would need more. Anyway. So it's got 14 instead of the usual 8. But kills in a similar manner, like an ordinary octopus. And I think squid do it the same. They grab the prey. So they'll inject him with something that will paralyse in saliva. And then they use like a kind of beak that they've got to, cut the food up into pieces and get it in the mouth. So it's normal. But it says this particular thing, it had the extra arms and that, but it said it had a special trick up its sleeve, and this is what's caught him out. It said it had the ability to paralyse its prey from a distance. It didn't need to get you and inject you. It could get you from a distance. And this is really clever. It's a proper nature way to do it. Okay? But it's saying the distance it can get you from is 150 feet. And the way that it gets its venom into you is by, it's got like an ink sac, like a squid would have. And it basically squirts its venom into the water. So it can get you from 150 feet. That's what they were saying. So they're saying, obviously, they didn't know this thing's in there and there's such a thing. So it says, tragically, my colleague of long life, Dr. Vindragdov, was killed that way. They get poisoned by it. He tread water wearing a suit of a blissful smile as the organism approached him. Yeah. He says he watched helplessly as it used its arms to tear his head off and then popped his remains in his mouth. And it says it's as if it was hypnotised with him telepathically or just poisoned and paralysed, isn't it? Or maybe some hallucinogenic or something. Who knows, man? But it sounds terrifying. It sounds scary. But, I mean, it's one of them, isn't it? That's the nature kind of thing. That's the nature kind of thing. I mean, that's what octopus do. That's what squid do. They chop you up and eat you. You know? So, many a sailor story about them. So, it's a sad story. It's, why can't it be true? That's not that weird. That's not outside of the realms of normal nature. So it's a bit sad, wouldn't it, sort of thing. But yeah, some organism that could do that. Just one extra little evolutionary advantage thing going on. You've got to develop, haven't you? Maybe there's not much life down there for it to eat. So it has to really make sure it gets there, cast a wide net, paralyse everything. Whatever. But who knows, man. But the thing is, I mean, Russia again, there was so we've got that Russian scientist there, he's an expert, right? But then there was with the Russians, it takes me back to another one. In 1964, there was a Russian captain that spotted something that was in the 60s version of the Baltic Sea anomaly, and it was like, the question was, is this ancient or alien structure on the seabed? So in December 1946, it was reported in the New Zealand Herald, this story, but then it's one of them that really, I suppose, get much attention. But there's an unusual story. It was titled Puzzle Picture from the Seabed, and it revealed the story about, it was just briefly revealing this story, and then wasn't really that much information about it, and no investigation, whatever, just one of them, a bit like but it's curious, like the Baltic Sea anomaly. But the thing is, it was much, much, much deeper. So the Baltic Sea anomaly is at about 1,500 feet deep. That's the deepest part on average, that part of the ocean. Right. But this is, the Russian submarine got a picture of something, some structure under the sea, on the seabed. So that was like 10,560 feet down. So that's, 1,500 Baltic Sea versus 10,000 for this other anomaly. So, but I think maybe someone didn't want to know us to know about this stuff. So the story is, in the 60s, it was a Navy icebreaker, Russian Navy icebreaker, the USNS El Tanin. Okay, this was repurposed after it was repurposed from military to become an icebreaker, and became the world's first, in fact, dedicated Antarctic research vessel. Okay, so And I just want to make the point, make it clear here. This captain of this ship, he's convinced that there's ancient or alien structures on the bottom of the North Pole and the bottom of the South Pole. This is how this guy's talking. So, just want to make that point. It's photographed what looks like either an ancient or alien antenna. Okay, it was taking photographs of the seabed, the west of Cape Horn in Chile. It's on the very southern tip of South America, heading towards Antarctica. And yeah, I mean, at the time, somebody tried to, debunk it and say, "Oh no, you've got it wrong." I mean, there was an author that wrote about it in Saga magazine. Says it was like astonishing machinery. It looked like a cross between a TV aerial and a telemetry antenna. But then, decades later, there was one of the oceanographers, A.F. Amos, who was on the crew. He was contacted by a researcher who basically was trying to sort of debunk it. He says you need to check this book out called Face of the Deep by Bruce C. Heason and Charles D. Hollister, and it'll basically, show you that, this is just a sea sponge. Do you know what I mean? But it don't really fly for me. It looks, but again, I put a link to the picture and stuff. So yeah, it was the USNS El Tanin. The ship number was TAK 270. So yeah, you can check that story out. 1964, Russian captain saying, the submarine, getting pictures of something weird on the bottom there. And then, like I say, there was a Russian captain at the same sort of time that was saying that they had a UFO burst out of the ice right near the camp, actually, and then they took the camp out and just off. Do you know what I'm saying? So then there's a Russian first-rank captain Vladimir Prikodko, chairman of the Russian Public Research of Underwater Studies, has supposedly been making comments like, where you got US, China and Russia spending billions in space, maybe should be spending all that money in the deep ocean underneath the polar caps, because he's pointing out that, hey, we're getting all these UFO sightings and USO sightings, and a lot of it's between the poles. And he's basically claiming, look, there's gigantic alien machines hidden on the bottom of the sea, under the caps, ice caps. So, and again, with these UFO releases of different countries have been doing, there's one from Russia, Operation Deep Freeze. So supposedly, men testified later that during Operation Deep Freeze they saw this UFO come, smashing up through 10-foot thick ice, sending chunks flying everywhere, then off into the atmosphere. So it's like, famed explorer Dr. Rubin Zvili, I can't say his name, but we'll put in, it's spelled Villele. Dr. Rubins Zvili was among those who witnessed it. So this UFO smashed through 10 foot of ice, and said that he had all steam erupting from the bottom, perhaps indicating it's got, enormous amount of energy and whatnot. So, and there was another. There was another story as well about. You've got that Operation Deep Freeze, and then you get the other stories about this kind of stuff that I'm finding hard to verify. And like with this Russian stuff, I don't speak Russian, so it's kind of hard to get to the source stuff. But you get like the Daily Star. They published a big headline story, January 2020. U.S. Navy submarine encountered a 500 mile an hour object under the water. But its profile was the same as the Nimitz UFO in the oceans. But there's a guy, intelligence expert, intelligence expert working for US Air Force, claims the his name is, this expert is Mike Turber, and he says, no, this is a US made thing. He says this is made by the US military. Do you know what I mean? Made these comments on a show called the Hidden Truth Show with Jim Breslow. So that was in Daily Star. Put the link in for that as well. So, so there's these underwater things, these UFO-y things, these strange, stuff about Antarctica where they're playing this cat and mouse game of whether or not you can have life there when obviously you can. And it's like, Admiral Byrd, this is what it all comes back to. So that gets you wondering about, well, we're getting onto the alien stuff, and this is where we have to tie in back to Admiral Byrd, because this is the big, massive, gigantic, big tamale smoking gun of all of the Antarctica stuff. It's Admiral Byrd. It's all about Admiral Byrd. So, at the end of the Second World War, the war's winding down, Nazis beat, that's it, done, people are shutting down, trying to save money, get the economies back on track, this, that and the other, right? So they should be putting troops back, bringing people home, shutting that stuff down. But right at the end of the war... So, this is where... Okay, so, end of the Second World War, Operation High Jump was employed, right? And like I say, you're supposed to be saving money, it's the end of the war. Why do a big operation, a big Arctic expedition and stuff? So, because that was the official reasoning. Oh, it's the end of the Second World War, but we're going to suddenly start exploring the Arctic, see if we can set up a base there. Okay, so it says on Wikipedia, the Western group of ships reached the islands. Yeah, they went in then, so they've gone in, and they actually, on the 30th of December 1946, Martin PBM-5, George 1 crashed on Thurston Island, killing Ensign Maxwell A. Lopez. I guess that's a gunner, Arm 1. Wendell K. Henderson, and Arm 1 Fredericks W. Williams. 6 other crew members were rescued 13 days later. Okay, so some people have got killed on this. They're the only fatalities for Operation High Jump. Okay, so this is the sort of Wikipedia stuff. The thing is, though, this is the end of the Second World War, right? They sent an armada. Okay, one just some little reconnaissance thing. They sent 3 aircraft, a carrier. Sorry, a couple of aircraft, 2 or 3 aircraft and a ship or 2. You'd think, yeah, that's all you need to see about setting up an airbase. A few reconnaissance aircraft, 2 or 3. But in reality, they sent an aircraft carrier. They had over 30 aeroplanes. They had over 30 aircraft, right? A carrier, yeah, destroyers, support ships. They sent an oil tanker. Do you know what I'm saying? Big flotilla, big armada. 16 ships. And it's like, well, this didn't want about seeing if you can set up an airfield and a little base. But they did. They set up a base. They did set up, and I was calling it Middle America. I've just twisted up in my head. No, it's known as Little America. Okay, so the Central Group of ships reached the Bay of Wales on January 15th, 1947, and began construction of Little America. Okay, and it was 10 years after that the Antarctic Treaty was formed. Right. And Admiral Byrd's been on telly after all of this, going, right, this is a really important place, and there's all this massive landmass that's free from ice. Now, of course, that guy was dead soon after that, by the way. Soon after appearing on telly, Admiral Byrd was dead. So, right, okay, so the thing is that I'm bringing this all up to is that there's 2 tiers to this world in terms of, like I've talked about, like the mainstream media, and then, looking into this stuff, the perception that you're supposed to see, and then when you actually look at things, what it really looks like. And the thing is, it's the end of the Second World War, Nazis are defeated, Germany's defeated, so how does a massive flotilla of well-supported ships with this war hero admiral leading them, how does that end up getting its ass kicked? They lost all the aircraft in the end. Yeah, they came back limping. They went in armed to the teeth and came back limping. So what happened? They should have been feeling good, like, yeah, we're going to go in, kick ass, get this last remaining German stronghold. But no, they got the butt kicked. Okay, so this is where it gets really funky, because there's always strange stuff going on down there, world leaders going down there, there's all kind of weird stories coming out there about Antarctica, yeah. And we know there's massive caverns under there, and then we know it's hard to get to. Right, and it's only in recent times we've been able to go and do that stuff. So that's a great place to hide out. Yeah, it's a great place for an ancient civilization that survived the last ice age, of which there's loads of evidence for. They could be living there still. That could be all the Atlanteans living in the poles where it's hard for us to reach them. It's minding their own business, you know. They might be the flying saucers, or there could be aliens there right now. It's a good place to hide. The bottom of the ocean stuff. Yeah, just like in the film The Abyss. It's a great place to hide from us if you've got the tech to do it. Underwater base is way out of our reach. Icy places that we can't get to. Caverns under the ground where we don't know. And this is where it gets to. This is where these kind of investigations take you. And it's, you've got to go. This is how you do science. Observation, measurement, and repeatability. You must go where the information takes you, rather than come up with a theory and try and push the facts to fit the theory. No, forget the theory. The theory gets formed by the information, not by us. Okay? We just have to, you know, start trying to put it together. So we have to connect the dots. It's important, okay? Because this is how you find stuff out. Find out what the picture of things really looks like. Yeah, the immediate presence of felt experience. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the closest you'll ever get to a truth. Okay? Truth. The immediate presence of your own visceral felt experience is the closest you'll get. Alright? So we have to do it like this. We have to look at everything, even if it sounds ludicrous. Alright? Now, to segue out of this a little bit, because you have to pull in other topics and, you know, other methods of study. Okay, so remote viewing. For those who've never heard of it, it's the proposed ability to be able to see things from a distance. Well, actually, it's completely true and everyone can do it. There's tons of reasons why, you know, without going into that. The Stanford Research Institute has studied this for, you know, since the 70s. That's the super soldiers, MK Ultra stuff. It's come from the back of that. And I'm a follower of the Farsight Institute. They're an independent study group. It's been studying and training people to do remote viewing for a long time. And curiously, that's what famous, the Uri Geller guy, famous for spoon bending, the Israeli guy, that's what he was originally, that's how he got a name. Because the Israeli army offered to help the US army, military, you know, recover a plane that crashed over Russia, and it added the latest tech on it. So they got Uri Geller in because they've heard about this talented psychic guy to try and find it, and he found it, told them where it was, and they recovered it. Okay, before the Russians could, you know, find this US plane. So this remote viewing stuff's been known by the authorities to work for decades. They've been studying that stuff since the 70s. The Farsight Institute's been doing it independently for like 20 years. And they've got 5 highly trained remote viewers, homegrown remote viewers now that they've trained up themselves. Now, I saw on the Farsight Prime subscription, I follow their stuff, and I started training and remote viewing myself. I've tried it a couple of times, man, and it nailed it, my second target, so it kind of freaked me out. So I know that people can do these things, and weird glitches in the Matrix happen. And the reason I'm harping on this is because Farsight and remote viewing has shown itself to be, whether or not you believe it or not, you know, it's kind of irrelevant, because there's shown a lot of accuracy. Okay, so the proof's in the pudding, as they say. And with the Farsight Institute, they've remote viewed this particular thing, Operation High Jump, Admiral Byrd, because it's a huge mystery. It is a big mystery. Why send all them ships? What the hell is that all about? Do you think it's bad timing doing Arctic exploration at the end of a war? How comes you got your ass kicked? You know, a lot of questions. So 5 remote viewers for the Farsight Institute, who are well trained, have been tasked for a double-blind experiment, meaning that the person that picks the target puts that target in a sealed envelope and gives it to somebody to deliver to the person that's going to do the reviewing. So the person that picks the target never meets the remote viewer, just in case your body language or your facial expression, you could claim it somehow gives away the target. So they never meet each other. It's always in a sealed envelope, just the person delivers it, so nobody knows what the target's going to be, and it's not revealed until the end. So your remote view, your impressions, see what you've got, and then you tell them what the target is after. Right, but we know what the target is. It's this battle. Admiral Byrd's flotilla going to Antarctica. What the hell happened? Now, according to the Farsight Institute, man, it gets crazier, but it kind of fills in the gaps. And it's, and it's just the way it is. Right? So we'll just look at it and we'll see. Okay? Because I can't prove this stuff. But you can try and piece these things together and get all this circumstantial evidence and stuff that you can prove and try and form a picture. And that's the whole point of this, okay? So, the remote viewers basically concluded, and spoiler alert, although it's much better to watch it, unfolding, okay? But basically, they've remote viewed this and they've said that, look, they're seeing... one of the remote viewers saw a mountain with an opening in the top and looked inside, and it's like some kind of warehousey type situation. So got a mountain with an opening in the top, kind of warehousey situation, something flying into it, like a delta shape, like the Phoenix Lights UFO, like a kind of arrow shape without the stick leading in, just like imagine a pyramid with one side missing. So you got a delta shape, big craft flying into a base in a mountain. Okay, it's remote viewed inside. Oh look, there's like German guys, officer kind of guys, right? But they're all in, they're all in white. Yeah, and most of these people are blonde, blue-eyed people, mostly, not all, but most of them. So, okay, so that Aryan stuff could be that, right? So then they're saying this base, it goes down and there's several levels. The opening's right in the top of this mountain, and it goes down through the mountain. So they've got a base and a mountain. And this came up for all the remote viewers. All 5 of them came up with the location. Yeah, there's a base in a mountain and like a kind of UFO flown by military personnel kind of thing. But it's in a kind of delta shape. All right. So that's flying into a mountain, base in a mountain. But it's saying the mountain goes deeper down, further down. And into a gigantic room that's like almost as big as the mountain. It's saying it's almost like a storage area, but it's almost like a bit of a town down there, right? That's all they're talking, all 5 remote viewers. And they're talking how it's got these tunnels, kind of go to the side, it's in like a ring. So underneath that, so they've got, imagine a mountain, there's, maybe a lift going down in the centre, some side rooms, got a bit of a base in the mountain, but you keep going down, underneath ground level, gigantic room as wide as the mountain. Bit of a city down there with interconnecting tunnels that go around. It's like a circle underneath, and then it goes round, and then there's some other bigger rooms, not quite as big as that. And they were saying, there's all kinds of stuff down there. They've got a whole city down there, pretty much, sounds of it. But then the really creepy bit is that they're saying one of the so it's like a circle underneath the mountain, some huge rooms, gigantic rooms down there, but one of them leads off to another one that's also massively gigantic. It also seems a bit like a city, but the architecture's completely different. Okay? And the way they're describing it, it kind of sounds alien. That is a massive alien underground cavern, miles long, miles wide down there. And the Nazis have linked up with them, and that was always the rumours. Have they made UFOs? Have they been talking to aliens or whatever, or some other people to get some help with technology? So it's looking like, according to remote viewers, that's what it was. Right, but it gets even weirder. The reason it gets weirder, because it gets more elaborate, because they didn't just remote view the target and the battle, they want to remote view the leaders in each scene. So the leaders there, they were talking like, there was kind of not fully human people. People look human. Basically, they were saying, look, they remote viewed, look, I'll tell you straight, man, they remote viewed one and they said, look, there was this situation where you got these 3 officers on the way to go and see someone. 2 of them are kind of scared, like pretty much petrified. and one of them is kind of stoic, like, this is what I'm here to do, kind of thing, right? And they're both going in, and he's a bit scared as well, but he's like, you know, I've got this is what I have to do, this is what I do. So you've got these officers going to go and meet someone, and it turns out they're saying, these remote viewers, it's like this massive, like, muscular, really tall, probably about 9-10 foot, reptile-looking man. I'll just say it. A man that looks like a reptile with a pointy snout face, like a lizard. And you know, and some remote viewing his feelings tonight. He's kind of not happy and he's bored about being there and don't kind of really want to be here, but he's trying to, you know, whatever, got his job to do. And so, yeah, sounds like there's two officers that are terrified to go and meet this reptilian. One of them's a bit scared, but, you know, he's doing the talking, you know. And they're seeing this scene. So this massive reptilian. Okay. So that's one of the leaders. And then it shows you that there's like one of the remote viewers views a different scene where there's like these other guys that kind of look like, they were saying that most of them are blonde, blue-eyed, not everybody, the Germans, but saying these people that seem like they're not quite human. There's aliens involved, and it seems like there's more than one. There's some of them that they're saying that they look like, you know, like Nordic, like the Pleiadian type people. Do you know what I'm saying? And he's like supposed to be working with this other guy, and they kind of don't like each other, this other alien, and they kind of don't like each other, but they just got to get on with it. They don't really have any feelings either way. They just got their own job to do, and they kind of, you know, it's just mad. It's like this whole elaborate story, you know. It just keeps escalating. And so then you remote view the battle, and that's where you're seeing these, you know, these UFOs are coming into play, because they've got these UFOs sat underwater as the flotilla comes in, you know, and they're remote viewing the feeling of these UFOs, people on there, what's it sort of going on, what's the general vibe of the place. And they're saying, look, this flotilla's coming in. Yeah, it's sending a couple of aircraft in for reconnaissance, and they're just getting shot down with some, like, off the top of this mountain with some kind of big death ray laser stuff, just like it was the rumours were talking about, and the Nikola Tesla's death ray, and the Germans had this death ray, and it's like, well, kind of looks like they kind of did, and it looks like they had a bit of help doing stuff, and they got flying things, you know. Right, okay, so we'll go through the battle story, you know. So the flotilla comes in, and they're getting attacked by the UFOs rising up out of the water. It explains why they lost all their aircraft, you know, because you've got these airplanes trying to take down these UFOs, and they're so fast, they can just, you know, if an airplane comes following them, they can just jump up, nip up behind them, get in position behind the airplane, and they're remote viewing them. And they were saying that these had like non-human military officers on there, and they were really excited about this battle, you know, and like toying with some of these airplanes, you know, and getting excited about shooting them down and stuff. Do you know what I mean? There's explaining that, yeah, that bit's happening out at sea with some of the ships where Admiral Byrd is, you know, locating at this Admiral Byrd, the remote viewers were, you know, and he can't believe what's happening. He's trying to stay calm in that, but men are getting disintegrated in front of him. You know what I'm saying? So he's getting his trouble there as these UFOs have come out of the water surrounding the ship, you know, and land battle situation. People tried to land there, or one remote viewer said, sort of in front of this mountain, this sort of base area, there was just bodies everywhere, you know. So, well, they say there's a couple of bodies scattered around, or just like broken. So it's basically the airplanes. It's all the airplanes that just sort of kind of fell out of the sky, and it's all the junk and all the, you know, pilots, whatever pilots died in that, you know. So it's like, well. But then it gets even weirder still, because the remote viewer is remote viewing stuff and saying that in that scene, they're seeing a person's outline, but they're kind of fuzzy, like they're phasing in and out of reality, almost like, you know what I mean, someone else is doing some astral projecting, or there's somebody there orchestrating it, but they're not quite in this dimension. You know, it's like, it gets crazy, some crazy stuff, man. So then, you know, so we're looking at other remote views, looking at other parts of the battle, and it's saying it was just like, one of them describes how it sounded to me just like a scene from Stargate, a TV show. I think it's about season 8, I think coming towards the end of season 7 or season 8, they're starting to bring in a spin-off called Stargate Atlantis, and the two shows cross over, so they're running a concurrent timeline. But it starts this scene. Atlantis show is going to be starting off where there's this scene of a bunch of like fighter jets are coming in one side over Antarctica, and a bunch of like alien vessels come in on the other side, and they're about to face off against each other. You know, and it looks like, well, one are just regular Earth stuff, and the other are going to be more advanced or whatever. And the way one of these remote viewers describes this battle, or Operation High Jump, says it's just like that scene from Stargate, you know, and because there's military officers on both sides, you know, and you've got these apparently German, Aryan, all in white, blonde hair, blue eye people on the UFOs. They're super excited. They can't wait to get started. Do you know what I mean? Because they know they're going to kick their ass. Do you know what I'm saying? And they're all really excited. And the other side's like just regular soldiers, like, okay, we're going to go into battle, you know. It's like, what? It's got pummeled. And it's just some crazy stuff. But then it makes you think, well, hang on. So, although it might sound like crazy talk, there's all this UFO stuff coming out these days. Been talked about for years. Ancient history showing people that are green, people that are blue. You know, there's a lot of this stuff. This is why we explore these things. And so, you know, so what's going on with this battle? You've got UFOs coming out of the water. There's others still down there, just hanging back, not taking part in the battle because it's not necessary. Or like they're like tagging each other out. Then one will dive into the water and another one will come up and shoot a couple of planes down. You know, it's almost like fun. You know, there's multiple aliens there. There's apparently, so it basically it concludes as, for me, listening to these remote viewers, that yeah, Germany got defeated at the end of the war, right? But they had a secret weapon. Yeah, they were doing that magical, esoteric stuff. They were doing that meditating. They'd been spending decades looking for ancient artifacts and stuff anyway, right? Back as far as the First World War, okay? Looks like they've cracked some of it. Looks like they've spotted some of it. They've obviously teamed up with some aliens, and it's multiple ones. So it's looking like the conclusion is that there are races, just like in countries and that, where, yeah, this country might be in support of this country, but they might have a rogue faction that's going to do something else, you know, and it looks to me that that's what's happening. According to all this remote viewing and putting this stuff together, that, yeah, there is stuff in Antarctica. There's probably ancient stuff that's now being revealed because ice has melted. You probably got aliens or an ancient civilization that we don't know about that's advanced, hiding out there. Ice is melting. Things are being revealed. There's anomalies there. People are able to study that place more. And it looks like there's probably treaties been done, you know. It's famously the Grenada Treaty, where it's claimed that President Dwight Eisenhower has made a treaty with aliens. Okay. At the end of the 50s, when this Antarctica Treaty's been signed. So there, if you look at it, think about it as if it's a political thing. Even though it's aliens, think of it like it's a politics thing. So you've got these reptilians that have come in, and they're helping out one particular group, just a small faction of the German army, right? Whatever, small faction of Germany, right? They're giving this advanced stuff and this advanced help, right? But those reptilians would be intruders, okay? And whoever else is working with them would be intruders. And it begs the question, if they had these Nazis that had these super-duper weapons, how comes they didn't take over the world? Right? Because that was never the plan, to let them go and just run amok. That's probably not why you're helping them. You don't just, you know what I mean, go to another planet, help people just be massively dominant over everyone else and then just walk away. No. They're going to have their own agendas, aren't they? So I reckon it's a clever little move, because this is how it works, right? If you just go to a planet and go to US government or whatever and say, can we do stuff on your planet? Is that okay? Given the choice, you probably say no. Can we abduct people? Is that all right? Do experiments? You probably say no. Right. And if you impose it on people, then you're an invader. And then other people might come and stop you. However, if you do it through Germany, just for a small faction of people, given this super advanced stuff, allow this American flotilla to come in thinking they're going to kick your ass and then whoop them, then they're going to go back limping, go back home and go, oh my God. You know, and this war hero, Admiral Byrd, he didn't know what to think. The remote viewed him. He was like, what the hell? You know, after when this has all gone on, he was just broken. And you would be, because your worldview's melted. You know, you're probably not expecting to get beat, so it's a hit on your ego. You saw your men die in front of you. He was gutted. And you would be broken, wouldn't you? But oh my God, aliens are real, you know. Or even if you're not thinking aliens, you're thinking, oh my God, these Nazis are going to come and take over us all now. But no, they haven't. It's because they've had help from aliens to send a message to world governments. Look, we kicked your ass. These Nazis kicked your ass, this small group. So then the US military is going to be, holy crap, we need that technology in order to defend ourselves. So they're going to make a treaty with them so they can get the promise of the technology. And also, they're going to be terrified of them, aren't they? Because they've got their asses kicked. They're going to demonstrate the technological power. And then if they go and meet a 10-foot muscular reptilian, visually it's going to be terrifying. So the US governments and militaries are going to be like, holy crap, they're scary. Their technology is way better. They're going to be desperate for the technology. So they're going to engage into making a legal treaty with them. And dun, 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 that takes these people from being intruders to being invited to be here through legal agreements, right? Once they get to engage our legal system, then other, you know, like aliens can't come and help and kick them out, right? Because technically, parts of governments of the world have invited them to be here. And that's the claim of the treaty. You know, the Grenada Treaty, that, oh yeah, you can abduct people, can abduct US citizens and that and whatnot, as long as you give us a list of who it is and when, and, you know, and that's the deal. Oh, not the Grenada Treaty, the Greada Treaty. The Grenada Treaty is an old from way back in the day. No, it's the Greada Treaty, Greada. Eisenhower, 1954. So, you know, a couple of years before the Antarctica Treaty, so they've probably done that treaty first, which is why they did the Antarctica Treaty, to stop people going there, right? So this is how it gets laid out, folks. You know, it's a bit of a rabbit hole. You have to go for a lot of information. I get it. I've done this, yeah, I know. Sometimes it's a head wrecker. You don't want to believe this stuff. Some of it sounds scary, the implications of it. But at the same time, finding out about this stuff and trying to piece these things together, it's empowering. It can be fun to do it. It's like Discovery. Okay, you might find some alarming information. But the closer you can get to some kind of truth with some of these things, the more empowered you are. You really are. It's not just rhetoric. It's not just cliche sayings. It's true. The more you know. The more you know, the more empowered you are. Even Dr. Zeus, man. The more you read, the more you know, the more places you'll go. Right? So yeah, it's never be afraid of the knowledge. Never be afraid of the information. Yeah, we've got to do critical thinking. Okay, I want this sort of stuff all happened before I was born. Okay, so I don't know. You don't know for sure. But we've got to ask the questions, and we've got to look and put the pieces together, haven't we, in order to build a picture. Okay? And by doing that, we'll at least have a more accurate picture than most people. I'm putting the work in. Okay, so look it up. Little America, Admiral Byrd. What's with the ice, you know, how big is the landmass, the Pyrenees map? I mean, check this stuff out. That's what I always say. Check it for yourself. That's my slogan. Because you've got to. Because like I've said, the closest you're going to get to a truth is the immediate presence of your experience. The immediate, what have you seen? Think about it. What do you really know? 99% of it is probably what somebody's told you. Right? That was a shocker for me when I first thought of it. Most of what I thought I knew is what a school teacher's told me, or, you know, someone on the TV, or my parents. So you've got to ask the questions and go look, do the discovery. Because there's funky stuff in the world, and if people making treaties with people without telling us, you know, they're null and void, they're not really legal. We can't have other people speaking for us, because there's one thing you can be sure in life. Choices have to be made. And if you don't make the choices yourself, then the chances are they have to get made, so they're going to get made for you, and they're probably not going to be choices you would have picked. And that's just how it is. So, you know, ask the questions, folks. Do your homework. Literally, do it. Look it up. It don't take that long to verify things sometimes. It really don't. You know, it's always worth checking and double checking. And then we all know more, and we can tell each other about stuff that, you know, we didn't know. Do you know what I'm saying? That's how it works. It's give and take. It's conversation. It's what it is. So, yeah. It's my first podcast. I'm sure over time I will improve. So, yeah. Thanks for joining, folks. And join us again for more meanderings and musings of the Exiled Mind. See you next time.
They were talking to us.
What did they say?
They were all talking at once. They said we could go with them. If we chose to. We did, baby. Ooh. It was for people.